Spiritual Autobiography, Part 4. So after I had this experience of healing through touch, I said, I can't make sense of all of this in the frameworks I have, so I have to go and understand this. So what I started to do was wherever life invited me into somehow or other, because it came across my path, if my felt sense was this was something I had to go and learn about, I went there. And I started to study all kinds of things. So I studied the enneagram very deeply because I was so moved by it, and as a way of dealing with how do you find out who you truly are. And I did a lot of training in spiritual psychology, mostly in psychosynthesis, and I did training in past life regression therapy, and I did all kinds of trainings. The main training I did was I went and studied in a mystery school with a teacher named Joy. And much of what I learned there was how to master the kinds of hands-on healing and diagnosis I was doing, because that was the main thing he taught in the beginning before we did much deeper work in shadow and a whole variety of other things, and dreams. I did a lot of work with him with dreams, and I became very adept at sort of being with dreams. But I came to a point where I could almost feel, if you put somebody in front of me, I could feel what was going on in their energy field, and I could channel energy into it sort of by choice, a lot in the same way I'd had as that first experience. It was like I'd had this epiphany, but now it was like I was starting to do the hard work of it. And I actually at some points thought I would just spend my whole life trying to deepen that practice. And at the end of about 2 years, I had a sense that I wasn't going to go in a direction where I was just going to deepen and deepen and deepen these kinds of practices, that somehow I had to bring them back and integrate them into the world of healing and therapy I was doing. And it was at that point that I had another experience that was life-changing. Because I was in a group called the Institute for Noetic Sciences, and I had a colleague there who was a friend, a small friend, and we decided to have lunch. And she said to me, you have to go see this woman. She's doing miracles in New Jersey. Now, by this point, I was open to miracles any place, even New Jersey, which I happen to have great fondness for because I taught there for 10 years in a wonderful program for gifted high school students, which in fact was where I met Roshan. And she said, I'm going to tell you a story. And what she told me was this. A woman was leading a workshop, and a woman came to the workshop. The woman was leading the workshop, his name was Judith, and a woman came to the workshop, and she had such a bad case of asthma that when she was walking up the stairs, she was wheezing so badly she almost couldn't walk up the stairs. And Judith did a demonstration with her and used this thing called kinesiology, or muscle testing, which I'd never heard of, which I will tell you about in a later chapter of this conversation. And so she's doing this thing about accessing her deepest wisdom, and they're doing a clearing on her asthma. And my friend says Judith had this woman tap all over her body while she was telling a story, and then muscle tested it and said her asthma was cleared. So Judith, who had a strong personality, said to the woman, why don't you go outside and start to walk and see if you'd feel different? So the woman goes outside, I'm told, and she starts to walk. And then she starts to run. And she comes back totally winded, and she said, it's not a big surprise that I'm totally winded because I haven't been able to run a step in 7 years. And even with all of the really miraculous things that I had learned, I had nothing in my repertoire as a psychologist that could account for that. So I decided I should really go find out what Judith is doing. And it turned out that Judith, who was the woman who was leading this workshop on miracles in New Jersey, lived about 10 miles from me in Massachusetts. And so I decided I would go and do a workshop with her. And in the next part of my spiritual autobiography, I will tell you what came out of that workshop.